Welcome to Ascent Rivals. Whether you're a new player just looking for a line, or an older player who is just looking to beat the time that you're stuck at, or even just tired of your races looking like this. Well, I'm here to help. Probably. For this video, I will be taking us through the map of Tefri Dunes. For the sake of this video, I will be covering techniques and controls explicitly based on controller controls. There's a lot to break down here, so let's break it down. Starting with basic controls, builds, the line, and perfection. With that said, let's get into it. Alright, this game, it's not your typical racing game, which means all of those racing games you played mean nothing. With that being said, that's what makes this game so interesting. The main way to move in this game is the main difference, as Ascent Rivals is a twin stick based games. And for all of you who just said, hey Wrench,
what the hell does that mean?
I'm getting there.
Anyways, the engines on your vehicle are controlled by your individual joysticks. So your left joystick controls your left engine and your right thumbstick controls your right engine. Meaning to go forward you will have to push both sticks forward, and to go backwards you will have to pull them back. There are several ways to turn, but the way to start off is to have one engine on while the other is off. Yes, this does mean you can make yourself look awesome by doing crazy donuts, but it is apparently
Frowned upon during tournaments.
So, as I said previously, there are several ways to turn. The next way is going to be best used for wide turns, and it is called leaning. By using the triggers, you can lean your ship to perform different dance moves, or use it to avoid obstacles in wide turns, whatever your preference. But these triggers aren't just for turning. You can hold them both down to bring you closer to the ground, making you go faster. If you were starting off, I wouldn't worry about this as much, as your focus should primarily be on getting as fast as you can. And once you get comfortable, then I would recommend going back to try it out. The next step to learn is the strafing system. Strafing is very important, but not just for the obvious reasons of avoiding big obstacles, but even turning once you get into the heavier vehicles, which will be important for later, so remember it. Next is the warp drive, which is one of my favorite controls in the game. Holding down B on an Xbox controller or circle on a PlayStation controller, you are able to stall your engines, and by pulling back on the joysticks, you will charge up your warp drive until it is full, and you push both sticks forward and you will go forward very, very fast. There are some things to note, like only pulling one stick forward after charging gives you a super fast turn, which is very useful on occasion. Lastly, you can release your warp drive whenever you want, meaning with a heavy drive you can still use it to do short boosts like the light drive. The last control, which I will not be covering in this video, is the gun, which is square on a PlayStation remote or X on an Xbox remote, which makes you pull out your weapon and allows you to shoot your opponents, which is very useful for multiplayer play, but seeing as it's not primarily used to get faster, I won't be covering it here. Alright, now we are going to get into builds, which will change as the game progresses, so I won't cover it too much here, but I will go over what parts I use. Here is what I run, which I have unofficially designated as the Pepsin. I got this build from, obviously, Pepsin, who is one of the fastest racers around. This build is an all-around beast on the track, in every single way. In short, I believe that every vehicle at this stage has to run a heavy engine, if you want to have any chance at keeping up in a multiplayer race. Light engines go around 500 miles per hour, while heavy can go somewhere between 700 through 800 miles per hour, depending on your leaning. The heavy warp drive for the line I'm showing you today is also extremely important, as the landmarks and timing will not matter with a different engine, as it will take you further and faster. The heavy battery is also a must. Without it, you will have no energy and will spend more of your time waiting on your battery than racing. The rest of the build isn't super important, so for the sake of time, I will be skipping them for now. Alright, so now for the nitty gritty. This is the line that I take. For all the experienced players who just want the line, the next 20 seconds will be a quick run. Now I will cover the actual controls and techniques that I use. Starting the race, you want to start up your warp drive the second the race starts, doing a full charge up and letting it loose heading up the first turn. There are two ways to think about this. Some people will take this turn very wide, allowing for you to prep your run between the A-frame and the ramp, which in my belief is a good way to start the turn, but a little slower unless you are using Pepsin's boost strat, which I will cover in the perfection segment. For me though, I run it as close to the wall as possible. So after you boost, flutter the trigger to lean to the left while you boost, keeping you near the wall and leaning you into this turn. If you try this while you watch, you will notice your vehicle not turning right. The reason for this is the build that we are using is heavy, which is much harder than turning in a light vehicle. So we are going to learn how to take an almost 180-degree turn, which will take all of the turning methods I told you combined. Dropping your left engine here, starting to lean left and spam your left strafes as many times as you can until you are lined up like this. This gives us a clear shot into the next portion, but it is a bit tighter than the other method. Once you make it through this little gap, you will have to lean to the right and strafe to the right to keep yourself as near to the rock as possible. And now lean left, giving you a straight shot into the shortcut, which you should be able to easily navigate only using leans and the occasional strafe if needed. Next is the turn out of the shortcut, which will result in you dying like this. Or you make it and die like this. You will want to keep this turn as close as possible to the wall, which is hard to visualize, but I will explain how to look at this turn a bit differently in the perfection segment, so sit tight. The reason for taking this turn so tight is to be able to pass between this rock and this A-frame. If you're having a really good run and keep messing up this turn, don't worry about it too much. Just go through the A-frame and focus on having a better setup for the last jump. But back to the preferred turn. From here, you are going to take the right path, which is much faster than the left, so stay away from the left path. At this point, you are at the final stretch, but don't take it for granted. Remember that final part of the build? That heavy warp drive? Oh yeah, it's coming back, baby. So before you go off the drop, I want you to do a full heavy boost, which will most likely result in this.
I'm looking at you, Stan.
I will help you avoid this the best that I can coming up very shortly. But now it is time for perfection, baby. Well, we finally made it. The next part can get kind of tricky, so I will cover the important landmarks for the turns first and move into the harder moves, which are mostly only viable in time trial challenges. Alright, so the first thing that is going to help us out is the sand.
I don't like sand.
I'm serious, just bear with me. Let's take the turn directly out of the shortcut, for instance. Look at how the sand changes colors and becomes a darker orange closer to the wall. As you take this turn, I want you to look at the color of the sand to let you know when you're getting too close to the wall, making this turn a little easier to think about. You can also use the rocks on the ground. As it gets closer to the wall, there begin to become more and more rocks. Next is the jump at the end. Note that the timing will only work if you are at full speed as you go past this turn. You will want to line up as straight as you possibly can until you pass this rock that juts out far into the lane, making it very visible. Now once you just pass it, stall your engines, charge your full heavy boost and let it fly, which will put you right in front of the bar before you drop into the finish line. Alright, now we are going to get into a much harder and more inconsistent strategy. So, if you are still perfecting the turns, focus on that and come back later. It should only be used for time trials and if you are way too far behind in a race and need to risk it. Both of these two strats take place directly after the first turn. These two lines stem from Pepsin, which I previously mentioned, and another great racer, Vulpix. Starting out with Pepsin's line, as I originally mentioned, taking the first turn wide and using your heavy boost to go all the way through the back through the original line between the A-frame and the ramp, which Pepsin makes look very easy, but without exact precision typically ends up looking like this. Now is the method that I use the most, which I got from Vulpix and sounds absolutely crazy. So remember that shortcut that you spent so much time learning? Well, how about we do a heavy warp from the beginning to the end?
No. Wait. Wait.
Bear with me, I swear, it's not as bad as it sounds, but it definitely takes a while to learn, as there are so many rocks jutting out, meaning you will die several times, like so. But once you get the idea of how to float into the shortcut to begin the line, you can lean slightly as the shortcut itself does have a minor turn, which means you can glide on by perfecting it. Now put it all together. Now, finally, I would like to say a quick thank you to all of the people who helped me and gave me tips along the way, including but not limited to Vulpix, RomainOrc, and Pepsin, all of which were a major help in learning the game, and I never would have been able to control my speed without them. RomainOrc, rather inadvertently, has several videos explaining controls and mechanics which I never would have learned. Pepsin, helping it show his line and continuously pushing me to be faster. And Vulpix, who gave me the insane idea to boost through the shortcut. Anyway, that's all for me. I'll shut up now.